What's happening there, YouTube? Genji here, and welcome back to another episode of StarRupture. In the last one, we wrapped up creating a few intermediate factories, ending with this hardening agent factory here. And I think we're going to mostly continue along that line. There hasn't really been any new notable upgrades to talk about. No new tips have really come in. I think there haven't been enough recent changes in Update 1 to really go over anything new, so we're just going to continue grinding our way through the tech tree. Now, in the last episode, we did unlock the roundabout connector, and I did promise that we would do a comparison test with the other two types of connectors, the rail connector and the modulator. However, the roundabout connector is so slow that it wasn't even really a contest. By the time the other two connector types had finished unloading their storage depots, the roundabout connector hadn't even reached the halfway point, so I continue to question what exactly the purpose of this connector is. But for now, we're going to continue working on our tech tree progress and our corporate terminal unlocks. And one of the first things that I want to do is unlock the teleporter, because I'm getting a little tired of having to run back and forth across the entire map. And as we unlock more map and press further into the frontiers for more raw materials, the harder it is to return to our original base or go from one side of the map to the other side of the map. So the sooner that we can unlock the teleporter, the sooner I can stop wasting so much time just traversing zip lines. So let's go take a look at the corporate terminal and see what we're going to need to unlock that. Okay, so I believe the teleporter is from Clever Robotics, and it's actually going to be our next unlock, which is great. So in order to unlock this, we're going to need to deliver electromagnetic coils or gothite lattice. Now, I'm not sure where we create gothite lattice. This is one of the new Update 1 materials that I've not done previously. However, I definitely know how to make electromagnetic coils, so let's take a look at the recipe in Rupture Planner. So to meet our demand for electromagnetic coils for our RTSC generator path, we're going to need 6 megapresses producing about 80 electromagnetic coils per minute, and this is going to require 3 pressurizers worth of pressurized helium, 3 furnaces worth of inductors, and 5 furnaces worth of supermagnets. And I don't think we actually have any of this available for dispatching and receiving. Pressurized helium is easy enough to make if we take a look at the recipe for that. It's a mere 10 pressurizers worth of helium-3 and sulfur ore. So while this is a large number of individual buildings, it's actually a pretty simple recipe to make. So we can probably set this up first. Next, we're going to need 6 furnaces of inductors, creating 180 inductors per minute. This is going to require tubes, wolfram wire, and ceramics. Now, in between episodes, I did set up a tube factory that was just 2 fabricators producing tubes, which should fill in all the rest of the tube demand that we need for the rest of our RTSC generator path. However, we don't have any wolfram or ceramic set up for dispatch, but since we are now making chemicals in the V2 recipe, which does not require synthetic silicon, we actually have a whole mess of furnace V1s producing ceramics that have no real purpose, since we're way overproducing the amount of synthetic silicon that we're going to need. So we can actually repurpose some of those ceramic furnaces in order to redirect them into inductor production. And then wolfram wire is very simple. We can just tap a wolfram node and directly produce these out of wolfram bars. So that's also pretty simple. So Inductor Factory should be relatively simple. We'll have a receiver, and then a basic wolfram extraction, smelting, and then fabricating into wolfram wire. And then finally, we're going to need 5 furnaces producing supermagnets, and I believe we have all of its components available for dispatch. This is made from wolfram plates, sulfuric acid, and chemicals, all of which we have available already from other factories and set up on dispatchers. So that should be pretty easy. So I think this factory, this final factory, will be pulling in from dispatchers pressurized helium from the factory that we're going to make today, inductors from the factory that we're going to make today, and then supermagnets will be a part of this factory. So it'll be receiver, Supermagnet Factory, and then finally electromagnetic coil, which will unlock the next level of Clever Robotics and give us access to the teleporter, and that will make traversing the map much more convenient. So I think we'll start with that after this rupture finishes. So I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, things have cooled down, so I think our first task is going to be finding a location to set up some more factories, so let's go take a stroll. Okay, I think for our next batch of factories, we're going to use this large flat top plateau here in the south portion of the map, just past, or in the opposite direction of the starting area. So here's our gothite field here. If you continue to the southwest here, there's a large plateau here. It's quite a ways up, so you may need to set up some zip lines or use some infinite jumping to get up here. But it also has nearby another large plateau that's a bit further down and a large amount of flat area along the west side. So there's plenty of building room down here. My only complaint is that the frame rate suffers a little bit here. It seems to be the case in basically all of the Update 1 areas seem to have some visual stuttering going on, but hopefully it won't be too bad when we try to build here. So we're going to start with our Pressurized Helium Factory. And Pressurized Helium, if you look at the recipe again, is going to require 2 Helium-3 extractors worth of Helium-3 and 2 sulfur extractors worth of sulfur. We have both of those already available in dispatch form, so this factory will basically be just setting up 10 pressurizers in a row and then rail balancing our input of Helium-3 and sulfur. So let's get started on that. So let's start with a base core, and it looks like there's actually going to be enough space up here for 2 separate base core areas. So we'll try to set this as far to the west as possible, right here, and then we'll have room for another one down here with a brand new set of thermal capacity, or if we need to expand this factory area even further. But for now, we'll start with this, and we're going to set up 10 pressurizers. Facing which way? Do we do 10 in a row going across in this direction? Or do we do, let's see, how many we can fit, considering the room that we're going to need for receivers? Maybe like right here. Lock our Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can get away with 7, but I'd rather do 5 and 5 or 10 in a straight row here. So let's see, let's flip this on its side and do this lengthwise across the plateau. So we'll place a second base core on this side, and we'll try to line it up as close as we can with the existing base core. Something like this, there'll be a little bit of overlap, but that's fine. The overlap is where we can build our cooling tower if we need to. So flanked on both sides by base cores, and then I guess we get towards the middle, and we'll see how many of these we can lay out lengthwise. Should be more than enough room here. We want pressurizers. We'll start on this side. We'll give us a little bit of room for receivers here. And then we'll go lock our Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and if I can get this lined up properly, is that 10? That looks correct. Okay, so we can do all 10 in a single row. So now that we have our 10 pressurizers, we're going to have to work out how we're going to feed all of these machines. So we have 300 items per minute each of Helium-3 and of sulfur ore, which should technically fit onto a single V3 rail each. However, given the number of stops here and the total distance that needs to be traveled by these materials, if we put, say, all of our receivers on one end, it's going to, I think, choke out the faraway pressurizers, and they're going to be running at a lower efficiency than the ones that are close to our receivers. So instead of doing it all on one line, I think we're going to do 5 and 5. We'll split this in half, and we'll do 1 receiver on each end for Helium-3 and for sulfur ore, and then Helium-3 and sulfur ore on the other end, and run them towards the center. That way we get kind of an equidistant coverage of both ends of our pressurizer stack here. And I think that'll work a lot better than trying to centrally locate these and then feed them in a really long distribution rail. So we'll start there. We're going to put cargo receivers here and here. 1 for sulfur ore and 1 for Helium-3, and then we'll do the same on the far end. 1 and 2. Now, do we try to put storage depots in here? If we put a storage depot in the back for each one of these, say here and here, we'll just need to run these back forward again. Actually, you know what? Given the size of these, this is the exact depth of a pressurizer. If we just reverse these, We put the receivers in the back and the storage depots in the front. We don't have to do anything crazy. We don't have to pass any rails from back to front. We'll just do like this. And like that. Yeah, that'll be a lot smoother. One and two. There we go. Yeah, much better. Everything aligns nice and neat. So we're going to set up our rail distribution, which should be pretty straightforward. This is going to be one rail for each of our two materials. We're going to do it through rail modulators. And we're just going to do 5 machines on each set. We'll run them stacked on top of each other. So we'll do an over-under. We'll do 1 in the back. And then 1 in the front, up 1. And if we do it this way, these should be far enough apart that we can do... This is up 1, right? Yeah. We can do something like this. We'll bring this down. And with the smaller one in the back, it means that we can wrap this around like this and continue our line forward. And then we'll just have 1 spinning off into here, 1 splitting off into here. And then our top line will simply go straight forward again, just like that. And then we'll continue this for the next 5 machines, and we'll do the same thing in reverse from the far end. So let me get that wired up. And in. Okay, there's our input rails, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2. Now we just need to get our receivers wired up to our depots, wired up to our rails, and we're ready to fire this up. We'll come out, and then we're going to need to spin 1 up and 1 down. So we'll just do a rail support. I don't think it needs to be particularly complicated. 1 here, 1 here, like that. You can go here, into here. You can go here, into the top, just like that, nice and straight. We'll repeat the same on the other end. And straight across. There we go. Now, let's take a look at what our output's going to be. We may have to do some balancing in order to split this into 480 rails depending on how much we're producing. So it's 1 every 2 seconds. That's 30 per minute. And we have 10 machines, so that's 300 per minute. So these will all fit onto a single V3 rail. And I don't know if we necessarily need these to be speed efficient, because they're basically going to be collected into a storage depot and then fed into probably a pair of dispatchers. So yeah, we'll just collect all of these in one direction, maybe back here to the left, and then we'll collect them into a storage depot V3 and then dispatch them again. So let me get that set up. We're going to do it in rail modulators. We're going to be collecting in this direction. 9 and 10. There we go. And we'll just take our output into our modulator into our next modulator, continue it back down the line, and 10. There we go. So we'll set this up in a storage depot V2. Say right... Well, let's line it up in the back with this. And then when we need to dispatch this, I suppose we can set our dispatchers in the back like this, with just enough room to run a rail in front of this and distribute them to the left. Yeah, I think that should work just fine. So let's get this rail in here. Rail V3. We'll do this into this side, and then we can come out here into a rail support running along this side, and then our dispatchers can be right along this edge here. So the only thing we're going to need now is to set recipes and add some power. So let's do recipes. We know our storage depot will be collecting pressurized helium. We've got this one set. We need pressurized helium, pressurized helium, and pressurized helium. I think that's the last one. Yep. Now, there is a compounder V2 recipe for this, which I think shrinks this down to like 2 compounder V2s, but I mean, this is unpainful. This is straightforward enough that I don't think it's really necessary. I can live with this 10 machine factory, especially when the inputs are so simple. It's just raw helium and raw sulfur. So we're gonna set, let's see what's available first before I make a decision. So we're gonna need to get helium-3 and sulfur ore in here. And as you might be able to see, I've actually gone through in between episodes and just taken care of some little procedural stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be done on camera. So I set up dispatchers for all of our factories that we had finished but didn't actually set up for dispatch. So we have electronics dispatchers now. We have hardening agent dispatchers now. We have heat-resistant sheet dispatchers now. We have more titanium rod dispatchers, so we'd only set up like a third of our total storage depots of titanium rods. I did our remaining titanium sheet dispatchers. I did our tube dispatchers, our turbine dispatchers, and I think that's all of it. So we're going to be pulling down 2 of our helium-3 transmitters, or dispatchers. And it looks like our next available one is 12. So we'll do 12. This will be HE3RX12, connected to TX12. And for sulfur, let's set this, helium-3. For sulfur, available, we've got exactly 2. We're going to pull down sulfur TX12 here. So this will be sulfur RX12 here. Perfect. We have 12 and 12. We'll set this to sulfur ore. And down here we'll do the same. Available helium-3 TX13 will be helium-3 RX13. Set our depot. Now how did that have sulfur available? The detection for what materials are available on rails has been kind of funky since like hotfix 0.25. Or maybe it was just since update 1 in general. I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't actually affect materials getting to the machine. It just shows more than is actually available. So that was helium. This is... Didn't we just have 2? Why do we have 2 more now? We'll take sulfur TX13. This will be sulfur RX13. And that should be everything that we need except for some power. So we're going to do wind turbines. I suspect we're going to need more than 1 here, but we'll see what we can fit in. So we'll do 1 here. Nope, a single wind turbine is enough to run all these pressurizers and receivers. Okay, well, it's going to take about 30 seconds for our materials to drone in here. And there they are. There they go. We're pressurizing. We seem to be keeping up as long as the input rate is consistent for our receivers, which is ever the issue, but here comes our next stack, and we still have some left in the can. Yeah, we should be just fine on our receiving and distributing materials. Here's our pressurized helium arriving in the back. Amazing. Okay, so this is a pretty painless factory. Layout is pretty aesthetically pleasing to me, so we'll call this one a win. Okay, and just so that we can say we are done with this factory, so we don't have to come back here again later, let's go ahead and put in our dispatcher. So we're going to have a throughput of 300 total. That means we're going to need at least 2 dispatchers here. Now, what I have been doing with these dispatchers that have an inconsistent number or amount of output, and or these factories that need to go to multiple places that don't necessarily neatly divide up into 240 or 480 items per minute, I have been taking a look at the Rupture Planner and actually counting the number of different places that we need our materials to go. So for example, pressurized helium, we had actually already covered part of this 15 total pressurizers when we put together some of our other factories, so we only needed 10 of our final 15 number here. So if we take a look at where all of these different pressurized helium leads go to, we have one that goes here to glass. Glass we already have taken care of. So we'll move along to number 2, which is to our electromagnetic coil. Oh, that's a little bit off the screen there. To our electromagnetic coil production, so that's 1. We're going to count that as 1. Following our next lead, this is going to go to hardening agent. Hardening agent we already have taken care of, so we'll skip this one. We have another lead right here going to liquid helium, so we do need to produce this at some point in the future, so that will be 2. And then our final lead here is going to go way up here to goethite powder, so we do need to manufacture that in the future as well. That's going to be 3. Now, because these separate unevenly, so for example, goethite powder only needs 700.9 of our 300, liquid helium only needs 149 of our 300, and I forget which, here we go, electromagnetic coil only needs 81. We can't funnel just 81 pressurized helium per minute into electromagnetic coils, but because of the pull nature of StarRupture, we don't actually have to worry about that. Basically, all we need to do is set up 3 dispatchers. One will go to each one of these locations, and as long as none of these individual feeds exceeds 240 items per minute, which is a theoretical throughput of a cargo dispatcher, they will actually sort themselves out. So for example, if we have a receiver set up for liquid helium, that receiver has a theoretical throughput of 240 items per minute. However, if the far end of that, if the compounders that are feeding off of that receiver aren't actually pulling down 240 items per minute, then the dispatcher won't actually be sending 240 items per minute because the receiver will never actually fully clear out, and the dispatchers only top up the receivers. So it's kind of a self-balancing system. So really, all we need to do is make sure that we have 3 dispatchers set up, one to go to each location, and then each of these dispatchers has a dedicated feed coming out of our storage depot here. Because again, it's not the number of items coming down these rails that matters to the dispatcher, it's the speed at which they're coming into the dispatchers. So we're going to set up multi-rail 3s here. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. We're going to take 3 outputs from our storage depot, 1 to here, 1 to here, and then this one's going to need a rail support to help it along. So we'll do this. Now, why is that not valid? We need to come forward a little bit. We'll go from here to here, and then through. That'll work. Okay, so again, each one of these rails is going to be moving at 480 items per minute, or 1 item every 0.125 seconds. But the dispatchers will only going to need a small number of items, but delivered at that speed. Because once you start splitting it, where you're delivering to 2 dispatchers on the same rail, you're getting 1 to 1, 1 to the other, 1 to 1, 1 to the other. So you're splitting, you're halving the actual throughput of your items, which means they're technically being delivered at a slower rate. So we'll just bring these straight through, like so. And that should be all that we're going to need. So we'll set these up to receive pressurized helium. We'll call this PHE3 TX1, PHE3 TX2, pressurized helium, and then PHE3 TX3, like this. And as you can see, we have all of our feeds are now running at the full speed of a V3 rail, and they're not having to share their outputs. They're not splitting 50% of their throughput to one machine and 50% to another machine. They can all run at full capacity, and then these will then dispatch to our end locations, basically a part of a stack at a time, since none of our end receivers are going to be pulling down 240 items per minute. So we'll call that 100% done with our pressurized helium needs for, well, all the way through our RTSC generator path. So next we're going to work on our Inductor Factory. So let's take a look at Rupture Planner again. So for inductors, we're going to need tubes, which we have set up already for dispatch. We're going to need Wolfram wire, which we're going to produce locally. I believe we have some Wolfram bar dispatching available, so we can go straight from Wolfram bars into a Fabricator V2 for Wolfram wire, and then into our furnace. And then ceramics, I should have dispatchers set up already for ceramics that I pulled off of our silicon line, so let's take a look at that. Our available items for dispatch, so we have, oh, I only did 1 ceramics. Oh no, that means I have to run all the way to the opposite side of the map to set up 1 more. So ceramics dispatching is 50% of the way there. We have 3 tube transmitters available. And I believe this is 240, 240, and then a partial for tube TX3. But we don't need a third, we just need 1 and 2. And then we do have several Wolfram bar dispatchers available still, so that's perfect. So I'm going to go run, and we'll set up one more dispatcher for ceramics, and then we'll have everything that we need to create this rather small factory here for inductors as we move towards electromagnetic coils. Wait, I'm dumb. It's not 2 receivers worth of ceramics, it's 2 furnaces full of ceramics. We have enough already. Turn around. I love how ridiculous this spiral zip case looks from a distance. Going up. It's a bit nauseating. And we're back. Okay, so let's get this set up. Let's set up our next factory kind of in the same row here. We're going to line this up as best as we can with our existing factory here for pressurized helium. So we know we're going to need to smelt some Wolfram bars into Wolfram wire first. So let's line our receivers up. We're going to go back 1, 2. We're going to drop this right here. And then we'll do, let's see, they're already bars. So we only need a fabricator V2 to turn them into Wolfram wire. Let's do it like this so that the output is on the same side as all of our other input. So we're going to bring this around basically right into this. So we're going to go out here. We're going to go in here. Just like that. We'll set this up for Wolfram bars. All the way at the bottom here. TX7 looks like our next available dispatcher. So this will be W bar RX7. Gonna come into our fabricator V2. We're gonna be producing Wolfram wire, which is gonna need 2 every 4 seconds, which is 15. That's 30 per minute. So this is definitely overkill for this receiver here, but we're kind of running out of things to actually use Wolfram bars on. I'm not too worried about it. We have plenty of other dispatchers available. So next up, we're going to need 2 receivers, 1 for tubes and 1 for ceramics. And that should be all of our input. Now we're going to need 6 furnaces set up for inductors here, pulling down 180 tubes per minute, 90 Wolfram wire per minute, and 180 ceramics per minute. So let's put down some furnace V1s facing in this direction. Luckily it's the same width. I didn't actually think about that, but everything is 4 deep. So we'll lock our Z here, and we need 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There we go. So let's set up our inputs here. So we're going to have 3 inputs, which means we're going to need 3 levels of probably rail connectors, because these are a bit too thin for rail modulators to really work. So we're going to bring this down 1, 2. We're going to set in front of each of these, lock our Z, auto-saving. We're going to put down a connector at this height. We're going to go up a level 1. Normally I do 2, but I want to try experimenting, which should work just the same doing this with a separation of 1 instead of 2. And then we'll go up again to 3. Just like so. Okay, let's grab our rails. Now, to wire this up with the way that we have these rail connectors set, I think we're going to have to go back to our original wave pattern like this, the full wave pattern. And then our inputs will look like this along the bottom. But we'll just keep winding this through. back to front. And then taking our leading edge off of this, facing to the right, bringing this into input 1 in each of our machines, like so. And for rail 2, we can do our half-wave pattern all the way through and take our machine-facing edge out into position 2. Oh. Like so. And then for the final tallest, we can either come out of the back and then go straight forward, or we can do another half-wave pattern just to make it align a bit better with what we have here. It's up to you, your particular aesthetic sense. Again, I would love for all of these to be straight, but they took away that ability in update 1 where we used to be able to stack these through existing rails and keep everything nice and straight. So we just gotta work with the tools that we're given. And there. So there's all of our rails connected. Now we just need to get our inputs from our Fabricator V2 and our 2 receivers here. So we'll set these up, starting from shortest to tallest. So we'll come down like this, and then out from here, and to the right. Then we'll do position 2, which is down 1, out of here, and to the right. And then finally, we'll do a default size rail support out of here and to the right. Just like so. We're producing 8 times 60 divided by 4 is 15, so 8 times 15 is 120 per minute here, which is more than the 90 that we're going to need, so we don't need to do anything special here. We have this set up as W-bar RX7. We're going to need ceramics, which there should only be one of. Ceramics TX1. This will be ceramics RX1. This is going to be tubes, so we'll grab tube TX1. This will be tube RX1. There we go. Now all we need is, well, we need to set recipes first, so we're making inductors here. There we go, recipes set. Before we apply power, let's handle our output as well. So let's take a look at our recipe here. So 2 every 4 seconds. This is 30 per minute, and we have 6 of these, so that's what, 180 per minute, which is enough for a V3 rail. So since we're so congested on this side, let's bring our output to, well, a left here, but if we're looking from the front, it's going to be to the right. So we'll bring it to this end. We'll collect this into a storage depot V2 here on this side. And then we can fashion this into some dispatchers once we look at how many different destinations it'll need to go to. So we'll set up our rail modulators for collection. Locker Z. 5 and 6. Set up our rails. Send forward and bring it in. And then from here, we'll come into, let's say, this side. Just in case we need 3 outputs, we can have the 3 outputs that are facing to the right here. So, where are we at? We'll set this to collect inductors. And then back on the far left-hand side here, we'll just set up a extendable walkway that will connect these two. Say from here to here. There's our power. Let's wait for some items. There we go. Synchronized arrival for manufacturing wire. There we go. It's going to take a while to fill up all of our input buffers here. So we have 6 machines that are pulling from 8 output wires every cycle. So this is going to take a bit to fill up the buffers, but ultimately it'll be enough to meet the manufacturing demand of our furnaces here. And then on the output side, we're collecting inductors. Perfect. Let's see, our items are stocking up, so we have 4, 3, and then 4 immediately again. We're going up to 5. Yeah, so even with as many as we have, we're still building up our inputs here, so we should have no problems with our input demands. So this will be our Inductor Factory leading up to electromagnetic coils. So we have a rupture heading up, but while we're waiting for this to hit, let's take a look at what our next item is going to be. So with inductors taken care of, we're going to move on to, I guess, technically a Supermagnet and electromagnetic coil factory here. Because our Supermagnet is going to be all stuff that we already have available for dispatch. So we're going to set up 5 furnaces for Supermagnets, fed by dispatchers for sulfuric acid, wolfram plates, and chemicals, and then an additional 6 mega presses. So I guess it'll technically be 2 factories, because I don't know if we can fit 11 of these in a row, right? 5 furnaces and 6 mega presses. So we'll do a row of furnaces for Supermagnets, and then we'll do another row for electromagnetic coils. So we'll see you after the rupture. Okay, we're back. So before we continue with our Supermagnet Factory, let's finish up 100% our Inductor Factory, which means we're going to have to find out how many dispatchers we need to place for inductors here. So let's switch to our Rupture Planner. And Rupture Planner says that we're going to need inductors in 3 locations. 1 is for electromagnetic coils. 1 is up here in batteries, so that's 2. And then 1 is going to be way up here. Actually, right here in electronics. Now, electronics, we already have a factory set up for, so we don't need any inductors for electronics. And technically, we're not going to need one for electromagnetic coils because we have these in the same location, so we'll just run a rail for our inductors to our electro coil factory. So we really only need 1 dispatcher to wherever our future battery factory is going to be located. So we only need 1 dispatcher here, which makes this nice and easy. So let's switch back. We're going to set up 1 dispatcher directly next to our V2 storage depot here. We're going to run it straight in. We'll call this Inductor TX1. Pulling in inductors. And there we go. Now we're ready for the future. So for our next factory for Supermagnets, I think we'll try to squeeze this in the space next to this, and then we'll start another row. Otherwise, we're going to end up looking like our hardening agent factory, where it's all really weirdly justified to like the left, and we have all this open space here on the right. So let's squeeze, if we can, our factory in right here. So if we take a look again at Rupture Planner, for Supermagnets, we're going to need 2 receivers for wolfram plates because we are pulling down 324 per minute, which exceeds our theoretical capacity of 240 a minute for a single receiver. So we'll need to combine the outputs of 2 receivers for wolfram plates, 2 receivers for sulfuric acid because it's again 324 per minute, and then 1 for chemicals because we have a mere 81 per minute here. So we're going to need 5 receivers and 5 furnaces to produce supermagnets. So let's see, we may have to double stack our receivers for this. We'll squeeze these in right next to this. And I don't think any of this is going to need to be wider than 4. So let's see. If we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do we have room for 5 furnaces? Facing this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have room for 5. If I can get this lined up right here. So there's 5 furnaces. Oh, these are slightly off. Should have locked my Z. I know the mantra. I just ignored it. 4 and 5. There we go. So there's our 5 receivers, our 5 furnaces. Now I wonder if I should buffer these receivers. We'll see how it plays out. And then we should have enough on the end for a cargo depot at full width, which should also be 4 wide. There we go, so everything's in a nice straight line. Is this going to slightly complicate... No, it shouldn't, because all these are 4 electromagnetic coils, right? So this isn't our full Supermagnet Factory, because I think we're also going to need supermagnets in the future for... Oh, well, never mind. That makes that super easy, because supermagnets are only used in electromagnetic coils. I could have sworn there was another, like, brown... Yeah, electromagnet. I guess those just take the electromagnetic coils. They don't take the supermagnets directly. Okay, well, that makes this nice and easy. So we'll collect these into a storage depot. Yeah, that's perfect. That fills out this entire width of this plateau very nicely. We do, however, need to find a place to squeeze in some more wind power. So we'll put a wind turbine over on this side now. So we have one down on that end. We'll put one... I'm struggling with my drone boundaries here. We'll put one right here. There we go. That gets that up and running. So let's set up our receivers. So we're going to need 2 for Wolfram plates. All the way at the end here, we have TX2, WPLT RX2. We have 3, right? WPLT RX3. Then we're going to need 2 receivers for sulfuric acid. So we'll take 3 sulfuric ACD. I was spelling this the wrong way. In most of the dispatchers I set up, I was spelling it ADC. It's ACD for acid. So we'll call this RX3, sulfuric acid RX3. And sulfuric acid RX4. Connected to TX4. And then finally, we're going to need 1 for chemicals. So this will be CHEM. Well, let's get our output first. So we have... I don't have a dispatcher for chemicals. Oh no! I do have to run across the map. Okay, well, we'll call this Chem RX1. And then we'll connect it when we get back. So let me go set up dispatchers for chemicals. So as it turns out, the reason that I don't have any chemical dispatcher set up is because we don't have any unused chemicals. Apparently all the chemicals that we were making before are all fully spoken for by our sulfuric acid production. So I did have to set up 1 additional furnace V2 here, creating some chemicals. This is 120 per minute. And I'm just pulling in helium-3, goethite ingots, wolfram powder, and some local calcium powder here to produce some chemicals, and then feeding them into 2 dispatchers. And those dispatchers will be 81 for supermagnets and about 18 for plastic that we're going to need later on. So this should be the last of the chemicals that we're going to need for RTSC generators. Okay, I've almost forgotten what we were working on. I'm pretty sure we were making supermagnets. So just to refresh my memory here, let's take a look at the recipe for supermagnets. Supermagnets, we're going to need sulfuric acid, wolfram plates, and chemicals, right? So we've got, we started bringing down chemicals. We have Chem RX1, we're going to connect to Chem TX1. Then we have Chem, this is, oh, right, we needed 2, 2, and 1. So we should be all set on our receivers here, right? Yeah, plates, sulfuric acid, chemicals was the last. I'm not sure why this one was showing up in green, and the other 2 are not. You're connected. Well, whatever. Okay, so let's set up our rails. So we have the same furnace setup here that we had for inductors, so we're going to have to use the same rail distribution. So we're going to go down 1, 2. We're going to place these in front of each furnace. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Bring this up by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bring this up 1 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're gonna string up our rails. And we can do this. So we can make an S shape instead of doing this full wave. We can do kind of a full wave with twice the frequency. So we can go front to back and then use our forward facing output and then front to back and then our forward facing output all the way through here. Like so. And then for the middle row, we can use our half wave pattern. And using that, we can use our back-facing or machine-facing output into input number 2. There we go. And then the last line, we can either string straight or give it a wave. We'll give this one a wave just to be consistent. Why not? And we'll use our back-facing output into input slot number 3. There we go. There's all of our inputs. So, let's look at our ratio. So we're producing 1 every 3 seconds. So 60 divided by 3 is 20 times 1. So each one of these is 20 per minute. And we have 5 of them. So we're making 100, which will easily fit onto a V3 rail. So we're just going to collect all of these to the right towards our storage depot with rail modulators. Connect up our rails. And then into our depot. We'll set our recipes. Supermagnets. Supermagnets and supermagnets. We'll set our storage depot to supermagnets. And then we just need to hook up our receivers. So we're going to be combining with rail modulators. 2 sets of receivers for plates, 2 sets of receivers for sulfuric acid, and then 1 for chemicals. So let's go... We'll go to the very bottom on the right. That way we can makes it a little bit easier to go over the top as we get further away. So we'll bring this down 1, 2. We'll bring this down here. We'll send this straight through. There's chems. We'll combine these in a modulator, so we're going to go down 1. We'll come out into here. We'll bring this down 1. And bring this into here, and then modulate these together, and then send them to the right. There's chems. And then we'll do the same thing for Wolfram plates, but at default height. Spin this around. Single rail support at default height. Modulate these together. Send them to the right. And there they go. So let's check our inputs.
Rupture activity detected. I recommend finding a safe place.
Plates might be a little bit of an issue. They have a hiccup every now and again. So one of the problems that receivers currently have is when the dispatcher finishes its dispatch countdown, it will actually only send the number of items that the receiver can actually hold at that moment. So we have an empty input here, but we're not going to receive a full stack. We only received about 80 because at the time that the 20-second countdown for the dispatcher finished, there was only room for that in the receiver here. So I think what I'm going to do to make sure that this output fully empties out and so that we don't have an instance where the output here is empty. See, we're never actually getting to a full 100. I'm going to raise these up and put a storage depot V1 underneath them before we modulate them together, and that'll make sure that our actual output rail going into our machines has always got a steady supply of items coming out. So let me just double check here. This is RX3 an RX2 for Wolfram plates. Alright, so let's put our storage depots in. We're going to put them right here and right here, and that gives us spaces on either side to put our pillars. And we need to raise our cargo receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 spaces. So 11 is going to be 9. No, 11 is going to be 6 and 5. So we'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't go up 5. Unfortunate. But we can go down 1. We'll lock our Z. We'll go like this. And then we'll go up 2 pillars each. And then we'll place our platforms, which I guess we don't technically need for receivers. They'll just go on top of the platform, the raw pillars. We'll put our receivers here and here. And then we're going to have to go into the back side of this. So we're going to come out the back. We'll put... Can we double this up? We'll put this right here. Lock our Z. Oh, not that Z. That's fine. We'll lock this here. And go in. Expand our base. We'll lock this here. And go in. And then we can come out of the front into our modulator. Like so. Auto-saving. And these will be W plate 2. So WPLT RX2. And WPLT RX3. So these are set back up again. So these are going to loop back down into these storage units. Wolfram plate. Wolfram plate. So these should be able to fully empty instead of only emptying at the rate that the machines are consuming the plates. So 480 items per minute of rail is enough to fully empty out our inputs here, so that by the time the 20-second countdown for the dispatcher finishes, this will be fully empty. Alright, so we'll wait this to fully empty out. So now we'll receive a full stack up here, but we still have some left over down here. So this hasn't fully emptied out. This should be receiving more here. It received a full stack, and so we'll continue that way. So we're buffering our outputs here, and then modulating them together so that we don't have any interruptions on the output side. Now let's see if we have the same issue with sulfuric acid. So we're consuming sulfuric acid at the same rate. So I would assume that we should have the same issue here, but for some reason, well, it's probably not, because these were paused for a while because there was no Wolfram plates. But what we should see is that we're going to slowly be draining our sulfuric acid. So because these aren't fully stacking back up to 100 every time, we're probably going to have the same issue where these are going to slowly drain out over time. So we'll do the same thing with sulfuric acid here. Okay, let's connect these back up to sulfuric acid TX3, which will be SACD RX3, and sulfuric acid RX4. From there, we'll set our storage depots to sulfuric acid and sulfuric acid. I guess I can drop off the sulfuric acid I have in my pocket here. Okay, we just received. I see sulfuric acid flowing. There we go. So now we should no longer be slowly having attrition on our input items here. There we go. We're actually gaining some now. So we have 8, 9, 10... Yeah, so we're gaining very slowly, almost imperceptibly, we're gaining inputs on sulfuric acid.
to normal.
So we should be good now. Let me drop these plates that we don't need. We're collecting our super magnets on the end here, and then super magnets we know only go to one recipe, so we don't need to dispatch these. These will just loop into our Electromagnet Factory. So there's our third factory. Now let's move on to, I guess we're ready for electromagnets directly, right? Or electromagnetic coils. So let's take a look at Rupture Planner one more time. So the final stage of our recipe is going to require 6 megapresses making electromagnetic coils that are pulling from inductors, pressurized helium, wolfram plates, and supermagnets. So let's look at our item counts here. So we have 81, 81, 486 for wolfram plates. That's going to require 3 receivers. And then supermagnets is just 81, so this is going to be local. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers again. So let's get that set up, and then we can also set up our 6 megapresses. So 5 receivers, 6 megapresses. All right, so we're going to start from the left side again. So we'll go out 1, 2, and 3. That should give us just enough room. Now we'll probably raise these up and buffer them underneath, but I'm going to place them down just for reference for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we are exceeding our thermal capacity, but we can put some more stacks of amplifiers in here. So there's our 5 receivers. We're going to need 6 megapresses. Flip it this way. Now these are going to be a bit deeper. So I think I'll actually move those receivers forward 1 because we want our leading edge to be where everything is aligned to. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We need to remake these anyway to put buffers underneath them. So I guess we'll start right here. We'll do one at a time. We'll delete it. We'll move it forward and put the storage depot under at the same time. So like this. And need 1, 2. There's 5. All right, we'll take our supported platforms. We're going to go down 1, lock our Z here. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, and 1. We need 2 pillars on top of each one of these. So 1, 2. Like so. Now we're ready for our receivers again. Bring this up. And we'll lock our Z right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I can get this, there we go, 5. And then in the back, you know we're going to need our rail support. Double wide at this height. Times 5. String up our rails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, we have 4 different inputs here. What's complicating this is that we're going to have 2 different sets of Wolfram plate rails because it just barely exceeds 480. So we're going to have 2 rails of Wolfram plates, then 1 rail of everything else, plus our rail coming in for supermagnets. But I think the supermagnet rail will run backwards, so we don't have to bring it all the way down to the left-hand side and then back again to the right. So let's take a look at our recipe here. So we are making, we have not unlocked the recipe yet, but we're going to be making electromagnetic coils. So we need inductors, pressurized helium, wolfram plate, and supermagnets. So let me go hit a recipe station so we can actually unlock this and select it. Okay, so in a mega press, we're going to need electromagnetic coils. We have the blueprint. We need 400 supermagnets, 400 inductors, and 600 pressurized helium, which should be easily done. So let me go gather these up. Okay, let's see. Mega press, electromagnetic coil, we have blueprint, we have 400, 400, 600, and data points. There's our recipe. Okay, so now we can actually select the recipe for electromagnetic coil and see that we need 1 inductor, 1 pressurized helium, 6 wolfram plates, and 1 supermagnet every 4 seconds, which is probably why wolfram plates are so demanded. So this is running once every 4 seconds. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 15 times 6 is 90? 90 wolfram plates per minute. Okay, so to begin setting up our rail distribution here, I'm going to take a multi-rail, and we're going to bring it, let's set our Z here, and we're going to bring this out 1, and this is going to be the distribution multi-rail for our 2 sets of rails that we're going to need for wolfram plates. So I'm actually going to bring these up 1, and we'll see why in a minute here. So I'm going to lock our Z here again, and we're going to place 1 of these at the beginning of each one of our mega presses here. So times 5, just like that. Times 6 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to then modulate our first 2 sets of receivers together for input into our multi-rail. So we're going to take the output like this. We're going to bring this down, let's bring this all the way down because we have to pass rails over the top of this for other things. So we're going to bring these all the way down. I guess this could technically be a rail support. Bring this all the way down. Bring our output into this. Send this into our modulator. Modulate these together, and then we're going to bring this up into the left-hand side of our multi-rail here. Now for this guy, we're going to bring this into a rail support facing this way. Bring this all the way down. Bring this out into another multi-rail support. Lock our Y, bring this up. And we're going to bring this to here. And we'll loop this into the far right-hand side and then bring this forward. And there are our 480 and our whatever's left over. I guess this would be 240, but we don't need a full 240. We need like 18 or something out of this. It's a bit of a waste, but it's better to have too much than not enough. So now we need to get our other items in here. So we'll take this into a rail support, bring this down 1, 2. And then we'll bring this down 1. And these are ready to send to the right. So the way that this is going to work, we're going to put rail connectors down 1, 2. And we're going to go up 1. We're going to go up 1 again. And then we're going to skip this one. And we'll see why in a second. So we're going to go back down again. 1, 2. Up 1. We're going to continue this for all 6 of these mega presses. There we go. I think that's correct. Okay. So we're going to bring our rails through from the left-hand side. So we're going to grab this guy, which will be like inductors. And we're going to bring him to the right into our first rail connector. And then we'll grab this, which could be, I think, sulfuric acid. No, pressurized helium. Bring that into here, so these should be nice and straight. There we go. And then our super magnets are actually going to be coming from the right-hand side and then running to the left. So we'll run this line from here. We'll send this back to the left in preparation. There we go, and then these will just we'll use the machine-facing side to go in. Well, we need to work out how we're going to run this in, but I think that should work because I left this open intentionally so that we can do a half wave pattern for all of these rail connectors. If there was a fourth one here, it would complicate things because then we wouldn't be able to do the half wave pattern. We'd have to do a full wave pattern for the lowest one, but because there are 4 here, the way that this is arranged, these connectors are arranged with the wider input on these mega presses with 4 inputs. You actually can't use the forward-facing side of these rail connectors as an input here, so we wouldn't actually be able to use the full wave pattern, which means there's not a distribution solution for our rail connectors unless there's a gap in here, which works for us because we do need to do something special for our Wolfram plates because we have so many of them. So we're just going to use, with this gap here, we can just use the half wave pattern and use the machine facing side to connect up all of our inputs here. Now, I'm not sure, I'm going to leave this one empty because I'm not sure if we're going to need to use the number 3 or number 4 for this because we have to deal with our Wolfram plate inputs. And to do that, we're going to have to put down a rail modulator. And we're going to bring our rail modulator, well, we're going to send our rail through first, right? Because there's a specific order of operations here for when you're passing a rail through the center of this. So we're going to do a rail modulator right here, go up 1, 2, and now we can go up 1. So this is our 480 rail, right? Or our theoretical 480 rail. We're combining 2 receiver outputs, modulating them together in here. We're setting this into the left-hand side of this multi-rail support. This is going to go up into a modulator. We're going to take 1 feed back down to continue forward. And then we're going to send 1 feed off to the left here. Okay, so we can use that into 3, and then this will be 4. And then we're going to continue this, so we're going to run this forward. We're going to put a rail modulator down, up 1, 2. We're going to bring this up. We're going to send 1 to the right, or to the left. And then we're going to bring this forward. And then bring in all of our individual rail connectors here. Auto-saving. Here we go, just like that. So it's a bit messy.
I'm detecting increasing
again.
activity. Prepare for a wave.
But it's not too bad. It's basically combining conceptually 2 different distribution methods that we've used before. So it's going to be a lot harder to do this in first-person camera instead of in drone mode. So I think I'll just wait out this rupture and we'll continue wiring this up on the other end. Okay, let's continue this. So we're using half wave for the first 2 here. So we'll do 1 and 2, and we'll continue this all the way down. There we go. We've already got the top one accounted for. Now we just need to find the break point for our first pair of plate outputs. So theoretically, this could be 480. Realistically, we know that this never quite hits 480. So instead of putting the maximum number of machines on here, which we said these were 90 per minute, so 480 divided by 90 is 5.3. So we'll split this into 4 machines. So we'll do 360 on one and then 180 on the other. So the 360 will obviously be on the theoretical 480, and then the 120 will be in the theoretical 240, and I think that should be okay. So we've got 1, 2 already. So we're going to continue our pattern here with another rail V3. And then a rail modulator. Bring this up 1, 2. Bring up our larger rail. Continue this down to what will be the final one here. And then we'll split this off into output number 3, or input number 3. And then we'll put the rest of our inputs 1, 2, 3. And then for this one, we don't need to rail modulate it again, unless we just want to be consistent. And I like consistency, so we'll bring this up 1, 2. Actually, we need to send this forward first. We'll bring our outside rail forward We'll put down a rail modulator. We'll bring this up 1, 2. We'll connect this into here. Bring this to the left. Finish off our input, so we won't bring this one forward again. Now we've got one rail here. We'll use the same format, 1, 2, and a rail modulator. We'll bring this up, and then we'll bring this forward again. Connect all of our inputs in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then finally here, we'll have a rail modulator up 1, 2. Bring this up. Bring it to the left into input 3. Then 1, 2, and 4. And now we just need to get our super magnets from here all the way to here. So we're probably going to need a rail support in the middle of these two. So let's bring this to our final height here. We'll lock our Y. We'll bring this, I guess, to here. Just to make sure we leave enough open space here for our eventual dispatcher. Then we can just connect up our rail connector to the left. To the left into here. And that should be everything we need. So here come our super magnets. We'll set our storage depot to... we haven't wired up our outputs yet. So we'll set our recipes instead. So we'll do electromagnetic coil. Electromagnetic coil. Electromagnetic coil is already set here. So this is producing 1 every 4 seconds. That's 15 per minute times 6. It's a total of 90 electromagnetic coils. So for the output side, we can just modulate these to the left. Lock our Z. 1, 2, and 6. Connect up our rails. Bring it forward. And there we go. And then we'll bring this into the left side here. And now we can set this to electromagnetic coils on our storage depot. Like so. Now we have to set up our cargo receivers. So we know our first 3 are going to be Wolfram plates. We'll go all the way to the bottom and we don't have any more. Where did they all go? Okay, we didn't have enough Wolfram plate dispatchers available somehow. Let's go back and check where they all went. I think I might have used Wolfram plate receivers in some factories that only needed a small amount, so we left a lot on the table because we only have 1 left over, and we need 3 for this Electromagnet Factory, or electromagnetic coil. So I just put together a small little factory here that basically just pulls off of 2 Wolfram nodes, runs them into a set of 6 smelters. 2 of these smelters feed 2 furnace V2s producing Wolfram powder. Each of these Wolfram powder furnaces is able to supply Wolfram powder for 2 fabricators making plates. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 going into 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the other 1, 2, 3, 4 smelters are a 1-to-1 output to input. These produce 2 every 2. These consume 2 every 2 of Wolfram bars. So we combine our Wolfram powder and our Wolfram bars into Wolfram plates, and then we're dispatching them in 2 pairs or 2 sets, 2 individual dispatchers. So let's go connect these on the other end. Okay, now we're ready to connect up our Wolfram plates. So let's take our available connections. We're going to grab a TX or W plate TX4. We're going to feed this into WPLT RX4. We're going to take TX5 into WPLT RX5. Is that right? RX4 TX4, RX5 TX5. I always second guess myself. And then WPLT RX6 connected to TX6. Okay, that's all of our Wolfram plates accounted for. Now we're going to need inductors. There should only be 1. Inductor TX1. We'll make this inductor RX1. And then we're going to have pressurized helium. So we're going to say PHE3RX1, PHE3RX1, like so. Okay. Oh, autosave. There we go. So now we wait. I believe, oh no, we have to set these, right? So this is going to be Wolfram plates. Wolfram plates. Let me down. Wolfram plates. Then inductors. Then pressurized helium. There they go. Items are flowing. They should already have supermagnets in them. I hear the sounds of crushing. Our mega presses are pressing. Oh, that's me vibrating with excitement into electromagnetic coils. Perfect. And this manufacturing time is so long that we really don't have to worry about our items not being sufficient or our input flow not being sufficient. So we're going to follow our electromagnetic coils all the way to the end here. We're going to have about 90 per minute of production here. So, our very first stop for these is going to be into an orbital cargo launcher V2 via a rail 3. These are going to be delivered to Clever Robotics for 110 a pop. This is going to unlock the teleporter for us. So, let's wait for this to finish. So these last two mega presses here on the end that are getting the single receiver will run out of plates for a second before the next batch comes in. So I have plenty left over on the first set here. If I look at our first few storage depots here, our first couple storage depots, we have plenty of extra supply available here. So what I'm going to do is when we get to our final modulator here, I'm going to split this. I'll wait for this batch to come through. Here we go. I'm going to... Now, if I break this, I'm going to have to replace this. I guess it's not the end of the world, so we'll break this. So, with those cleared, we're going to do two things. I'm going to put a rail modulator right here facing backwards. We'll bring this right to here. And this is going to combine our original feed from our single receiver, and then whatever's left of our double receiver feed, because we had plenty left over. So we're going to run that rail first. So we'll take this outside rail here, send this forward. So this is our single rail, our single receiver with 240 theoretical. Then we're going to place a rail modulator facing this way. Bring this up one like we originally had. Our 480, our theoretical 480 rail is going to go into this. We're going to split off one to go into this machine here. And then we're going to bring another rail forward into this modulator. Now we're modulating in here. We're modulating our 480 rail and our 240 rail together. Send it forward again. And there we go. So now the excess of our big double receiver rail will flow into our single receiver rail and make up for that one little second where we don't have a full inventory of Wolfram plates. All right.
Clever Robotics is pleased with the quality of your work.
Let me just make sure nobody else wants these. I don't think they do. There's so many end game materials. Griffith's Blue wants inductors. We could temporarily hook that. Well, we have inductors at our intermediate building materials facility, so we'll break this down for now. Let's go hit our corporate terminal. Give me the teleporter. All right. So this should be significantly cheaper because in the early access version, these actually cost quartz building materials to make, but now they simply cost intermediate building materials. So we should be way easier for us to build networks of teleporters. And so we're going to start by placing one right... Building is not stable. I guess we'll bring it forward a bit. We'll place it right here. And we're gonna need to give it a little juice. I don't know exactly how much power these guys are gonna take. I'm gonna guess it's more than 140. Can we dump it onto the power grid for our existing network? We can? Okay, so we'll just bring this up. Like so. We're gonna call this Electromagnetic Coil Base. You wanna call it based on the thing we're making there, or like the area? So like this would be like Plateau Base. Confirm. Okay. Now we need to go and set up some other teleporters. So I'm gonna head back. We're gonna put one probably at our Gothite harvesting location, and then another at our intermediate building material base on the way back. So let's go set those up. Before we take off, I suppose we should take a look at the factory that we built right here. So a little bit better than our last factory at the end of the last episode that we used for hardening agent. Everything is a bit more condensed. We're still left justified here, but that's fine. We do have to set up a dispatcher here for electromagnetic coils, since we are going to be using those in the production of electromagnets later. Although, we may set that up here because there's still plenty. There's like a half of this plateau left for additional factories. So yeah, we have our huge row of 10 pressurizers in the back for pressurized helium. Then we have inductors, and then supermagnets, and then finally electromagnetic coils. So, pretty good. Nice hustle today. Alright, let's go set up our teleporters. Okay, I took a little sweep over the map and put a few more teleporter locations in. I stuck one at our chemical factory, I stuck one at our smelting basin, and I put one at our mountaintop location. Way up yonder there. It's not really loaded in, but it's right there next to that base core. So, one last thing I want to do today, if we head back to our plateau base. Oh god, frame rate. We're chugging. The game already doesn't like this area, and now it's got a whole base built in it. A whole factory to load in. So I've been doing mostly building for the last few episodes, and I haven't really done much exploration because we kind of front-loaded all of our blueprint gathering. So I figure while we're here, we have a base up here on top of this mesa, and we have another abandoned base within arm's reach here. So I think the last thing I want to do today is just do one little adventure. We're going to hopscotch our way across the top of these plateaus here and see if we can get into this base from the top side.
Dehydrated.
Quit your whining. Here. Energize for our adventure. So we're gonna start... I would love to use that platform, but we're already using that, so let's go... Well, we can reuse that, right? We'll go... platform. We'll put another one on the end here. And then we'll put a zipline pole on top of that. And we'll see if we can stretch a zipline across here with our drone. Now the trick I found while trying to build this spiral tower up here to get access to the top of this plateau, I found if you're trying to like micromanage the drone camera to try to get your zipline to connect to the correct side of the top of the zipline pole, it's, for whatever reason, it's way easier to do if you just look at the bottom of the zipline, and it'll automatically snap to the zipline pole instead of trying to aim it at the place that it would actually connect to in a way that made sense. No, just look at the bottom. It'll line you right up, and then you can stretch your zipline to wherever you want it to go. So put this over here. We'll take it right across. And let's see, what's our next hop going to be? Probably directly this way. That's pretty easy. So we'll grab a supported platform. We'll go... Can we get away if I lock my Z here? Can I get away with going one forward? I can. Get us one tile closer. If we stretch them this direction, we'll go to here. And we'll put another zipline pole here. Zipline. Unlock our Z. I don't know why Z level lock is still a thing for ziplines. look at the bottom of the zipline pole. Bring it across. We'll even put a little staircase here. Huh. Now I know I can infinite jump my way up there, but this seems more adventurous if we do it the fair way. So we have one more jump to do here. Let's see. But we are going to cross... Oh, look at all these guys down here. It's a good thing we're going from the top side. Bugs. Good thing they don't notice the drone at all. We can kind of spy on them, like a nature documentary. The native vermin gather by the side of the muck pond for their monthly mating ritual. Alright, so we're going to stretch another... I guess we're just going to do like a diving board. Well, no, we can try to go over here, right? So if we can go here, it's just a quick hop up that way. That seems like it's going to be much easier. So we'll stretch another... maybe across here. So we'll lock our Z. We'll see as far out as where we can get away with going. Looks like it's going to be right here. Stretch a platform across. Say here. Put a zipline pole on the end. Unlock our Z again. Zipline. Look at the bottom. Now, where can we get to? Can we get to here? We can actually just go straight to here, which is great. So we'll do that. Huh. We'll put a little sky world up here. We forsake the ground. Alright, and then from here, it's going to be a little tough getting back out, but I think we're inside the build radius here. Yeah. Okay, so in we go. Guns out. Let's hunt. Unknown energy source. A mangled piece of equipment impossible to identify. Plus 2,000
Gotcha.
data points. I like that even the scrap in the new Content Update 1 zones is actually new items that are worth more. So we're gonna check around and see if there's a blueprint box in here. We got some lore. I'm not gonna be able to read it, but you can pause it and read it if you really want to know. Time to run around wildly. I'm betting it's up there, so we probably need to find a way to get into this top level here. That's usually how it works. They make you do some kind of platforming puzzle. There is a ladder here, which I don't know if bugs can get up. Hey, here's our blueprint box right here. So here we get plastic dust, heat shield, a testing parameter recorder worth 20,000 research points, or data points, and some war bonds. Very nice. And then some basic item printer stuff. I'm going to keep looking around though. I've been skipping out on like looting all of the LEMs and whatnot, so now that I have some LEM slots unlocked, I don't actually have any decent LEMs to put into it, so I'm gonna take another take a looting pass around here. I think we're good for up here. Come here. Everybody line up. That's right. Nice straight line for me. And my piercing ammo.
Changing mags. Reloading.
Shields. Bugs. What are you doing over there?
Changing
Hey,
mags.
I think he fired that after he was dead. Nope, we have an artillery guy. A slinger, I think they're called? Somehow they can get it inside a building. I'm hearing less pitter-patter. They must be running out of numbers. Calculation error from Ethan Jackson to all. I'm writing to you on the official channel as everything seems to indicate we did it. Compared to last week, we have increased power usage by 25... We've increased power usage? That's not accomplishment, and that's not efficiency. I hear fees. Increased power usage by 25%. Of course, Dr. Chen deserves the most praise as it was her genius idea to modify the contact layer. I don't want to jinx it, but this could mean a bonus. Thank you, Dr. Ethan Jackson. Calculation error. Hey, I recalculated everything once again, and you can go ahead and increase the power. I can guarantee nothing bad will happen. It will not be enough power to attract the vermin. I approve Peggy's proposal. Well, somehow I don't think that worked out. Stuff. Bullets. A damaged data storage. We'll leave the shotgun shells. Some poly snack. Whoops. Ooh, NutriBlock capsules. Stops hydration and calorie loss. We'll go ahead and use those right now. Why not? Hey. Where'd you go? Got another box over here. Damaged flora sample set. A damaged piece of equipment used by a previous expedition. 10,000 research points. Data points. Hey. Run and gun. Where's the other artillery guy? Oh, there's another building down there. Ow! Nope. Up and down. Hey, where you going?
Reloading.
Yeah, we'll head over here and then they'll reveal themselves. Ooh, it goes down into the pillar. Things get a little hairy here, so I'm gonna drop this if I can get enough frames to do it. Take that guy out. They never stop coming. I'm stuck in zoom. There we go.
Reloading.
Got more artillery guys I don't see. Okay, trying to play an FPS with this frame rate is, it's a big ask. There you are. And then auto-saving, okay. Will just freeze me inside the acid cloud, why not? What the? Dude, he hit me from like 400 feet down. Well, let's drop that. Well, deal with it. You can feel sick or you can feel dead. I guess you can stop feeling completely. Okay. That should be enough, guys. Let's see. What else do we have in here? Dead guy. Reduces resource, combat, and consumable type item loss on death. Well, I'm not planning on dying. So we'll skip that. Health shards would help, but they would also put me over toxic, so we'll not do that. So many bullets. We'll skip the bullets. Take more of these. Leave that for now. We got some more emails to read. Expected power usage from Moon Energy Corporation. Hello, we are not happy with how you are conducting this mission. Current power usage is only at 87% of the expected amount. If you do not increase it to at least 97% in the next 8 Earth days, you will be forced to treat this as deliberate sabotage. What is happening? I guess they're Moon Energy Corporation, right? They probably want to test like a high energy draw, but it should be super simple to just like build more factory, right? You will then be retired and replaced with another willing individual, while Dr. Peggy Chen will assume command. You will, of course, be punished accordingly. Best regards, the Moon Energy Corporation. Analysis results. Sorry it took so long. I just found the time to go over Peggy's calculations. We should be able to increase the power, but I personally don't recommend it. We don't know how the vermin will react. We don't have enough protection to defend ourselves from them. Try to buy us some time. From Ethan to Roberto. I tried. If we don't do it now, they'll demote me and Peggy will take over the base. Do you really want to work under her? From Ethan to Roberto. Understood. I'm not happy about it, but I can't recommend her solution. I'd rather serve under Peggy than be dead. Well, looks like you get to do both. Grab some of this. I think that's everything in here. I want to go down to the caves, but I'm almost dead. Need my health regen to kick in a little bit more. So let's see, is this where the explosion came from? Oh, this is just... I think this is how you're normally supposed to get up. Yeah, because there's just like the ground and a plant that I kind of want. I'll take this. There's some more lore down here. And a dead guy. What do we got? Increases max health by 20? Sure. Some more data points. Ethan Jackson, a warning. 2 future missions. I won't survive this, but you need to watch the electricity. Those beasts feed on it. They destroyed us in minutes. Don't increase the power usage without reinforcing security. Yep, or just... well... that's more of a heat thing. I was gonna say, we build a lot of cooling towers instead of building cores, but that's not really what he's talking about. We'll go back up this way, if we can. Oh, there's a whole building in here. Is that the, is that the big guy, the big shockwave emitting bug I hear out there? Okay, I think we might have hit the end of this story. So they needed to increase energy output. They pushed it a bit farther than was safe to do so, and they either blew themselves up or they created enough of a lure for the vermin that the vermin came and just destroyed them. And I'm curious if Moon Energy knew that doing so would attract the vermin and that this was actually just a test to test the thresholds for vermin attention getting.
Changing mags.
Oh. Hello. Goodbye. Oh, come on. Oh, you finally cleared all the bugs out so you can actually explore? Nope. Have some more. What building is this?
Reloading.
Oh, is this a multi-storage? That may be why I don't recognize it. I don't have access to multi-storage. But it does have the top-bottom input, which I think I've only seen on the side of the multi-storage. So there we go. War bonds, maximum stamina by 30 is pretty good. We'll grab that if I've got room. I do. Okay, let's see if I can make it either down or back to our zip lines, because I think we've cleared this place pretty well out. There's a body over here. Oh, yeah. And then more guys just spawn. That's okay. We got everything that we came for. Bye, guys. I'm gonna lead them away from our base. Okay, well, that was fun. We almost died, but we made it out all right. What was the name of that place? That was Highrock, Moon's research base. That's named pretty straightforward. It is on a high rock. But yeah, we came away with the blueprints, with the plastic dust and the heat shield blueprints, so I'm sure we'll get those manufactured at some point down the line. But I think that's what we're going to call it for this episode. So let's take a look at the base again that we made here today. UI off. one more quick sweep over our electromagnetic coil base. We spread this out a lot more than I normally would. I normally like to build taller, but since we have access to more flat areas here, I've been kind of just letting it slide with some flatter open bases. So yeah, it doesn't look too bad, and we still made use of some verticality where it was convenient to do so. So I have no complaints about that. What else did we do today? We unlocked the teleporter. We set up a little, the beginning of a teleporter network to get us around the map quicker. So hopefully in the coming episodes, I'm going to spend a lot less time in between segments traveling back and forth in the zip line. That should dramatically decrease the amount of recording time. I think we're up to about 5.5 hours on this one. So hopefully we'll be able to trim an hour and a half or so of just ziplining around from future episodes. But in the next one, we'll continue with our grind through the tech tree levels. And I think next we'll want to go for maybe the assembler. We have access to the assembler, and we have access to multi-rail 5. So one of those two will be our next target. But that'll be it for this one. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this playthrough of StarRupture, hit like and subscribe. If you want to check out StarRupture for yourself, head over to Steam and pick it up. And if you want to let me know what you think of the game so far, then hit the comments down below. But whatever you do, I'll see you right here again in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.